In this video, I'm gonna teach you everything that I know about how to draw hands, which is not a lot because I, like most artists, am terrible at drawing hands, or at least I used to think so. I'm not gonna lie, I did have to watch a few tutorials to be able to make this video because, I also struggled with drawing hands. And I watched a few of them, but ultimately the three that ended up helping me the most were these ones. And I'll leave links to all of them in the description below so that you can go check them out for yourselves. Now, this is actually the second time I'm recording this video because I didn't really like the way the first video turned out, so I scrapped it. And I guess I can show you the drawings of the first video so that you can kind of have an idea of what you're in store for. If you feel like you want to learn how to draw hands like this, then stick around. Anyways, let's get into it. So to begin, we're gonna draw kind of a square shape for the palm of the hand. And notice how mine tapers ever so slightly near the bottom part. Now you wanna add this kind of triangle thing because that's gonna allow us to correctly align all of the joints in our hands. Then you wanna add this triangle thing, which is gonna be the base of the thumb. Now you wanna add circles to represent your joints. For the fingers, I just do stickman fingers. It helps me to visualize the hand a little bit easier. And just in case you don't know, the middle finger should be the tallest finger. After that is the index finger. And after that is the ring finger. After that, it's the pinky finger. So now, what I like to do, I like to add cylinder shapes that taper off as we approach the fingertips. These aren't going to be your final fingers, just saying. These are just here to help you visualize what the fingers are supposed to look like. And I actually think I messed up the index finger here, so I'm just gonna redraw that. So you should have something that looks like this. Now, before we continue, I just wanna explain something about the structure of the finger. So from a side view, when you look at a finger as it approaches the fingertip, the top goes flat while the bottom stays rounded, kind of like this. And the way NIRO describes it in one of his videos is that a finger from a side view kind of looks like a katana. You want to just keep that in mind as we're going to rough in the shapes of the fingers. Now you want to kind of add these tiny guidelines to kind of mark where the joints of the fingers are going to go. Your fingers should be equally divided, meaning each of the segments of the fingers should be the same length. I know that isn't entirely accurate. I just follow that principle just to make my life easier when it comes to drawing hands. So now you want to identify the top part of the fingers, and wherever that is, you want to draw straight lines. The moment where you reach a point where you're supposed to add a joint, just add a straight line, kind of like this. And in the bottom part of the finger, just add straight lines, but try to make them slightly rounded, just to kind of give off the impression of padding. Until you have something like this. I'm gonna slightly redraw my middle finger here, because I think I bent it a little bit too much. And you should be left with something like this. And one thing that you kind of have to consider when adding the knuckles and the tendons is that this part where the knuckles sit, there is basically no muscle. The knuckles are pretty much always going to be visible. The tendons are a bit different. The more bent the fingers are, the less apparent the tendons are going to appear. But you can see, as I start to stretch my fingers, my tendons become increasingly more visible. So in this case, I drew the tendons slightly visible, but I didn't really exaggerate on them because the fingers aren't really that stretched. At this stage, I recommend adding fingernails, but fingernails are a good opportunity to kind of show the orientation of the fingers. And I know my fingernails suck, but shut up. And now if you want, you can add this little bit of detail that I'm about to show you. You can add hatching to all of the joints. This is a technique that I see in the JJK manga a lot, so if you want, you can add it, but if you don't like it, then you can leave it. It's totally up to you. This thumb looks weird, so I'm gonna redraw it real quick. It's normal to mess up. Like I said, I still struggle with drawing hands, and sometimes you just need to do a little bit of trial and error. But now we're gonna do the same thing again. but this time we're going to draw the palmar side of the hand. And I'm doing the exact same thing. Drew a square for the palm, drew the triangle thing, to be able to place the knuckles correctly, another triangle thing for the base of the thumb, drew stickman fingers, and now I'm gonna draw the cylinders that are gonna help me place the fingers. And I messed up the fingers again, but like I said, sometimes you just need to do a little bit of trial and error. Now, same thing again with the fingers. Mark where the joints are gonna be, and now you wanna rough in the shapes of your fingers. Now, this time since we're drawing the palmar side of the hand, we're not just going to draw straight lines for the joints. Here, we're going to actually draw a round line that curves along the finger. Now, for the palmar side of the hand, there's 3 parts that we can divide it into. This part, which is like the base of the thumb, this part, which is like the base of the fingers, and this part, which is like the rest of the hand. Now, these are important because when the hand starts to fold, the points at which we drew these lines are where most of the folds are going to happen. Now we can add the tendon, just to make it a little bit more realistic. If you want to add that JJK hatching, then you can. I really like it, so I'm going to add it. But if you don't want to, you don't have to. Now we can move on to drawing a little bit more complicated poses. With complicated poses, especially with ones that require foreshortening, we can't just think of the palm of the hand as just a square. You kind of need to think of it as a more 3D shape. So you can start off with a square shape if you want, but then you're gonna have to turn it back into a more 3D shape. So something like this. And maybe I can even go a little wider. Yeah, I think that looks better. Now you can add the triangle thing. Notice how this time I'm drawing it in 3D instead of just a regular triangle. The rest of the process is pretty much exactly the same. I still like to add my stickman fingers here. Now again, we want to add our cylinders. Mark where you expect the joints to be. Same as always, you want to rough in your fingers. You can add fingernails, and you can add your JJK hatching, and there you go. No, the video is not over yet. I just gotta remind you to like and subscribe because, come on, if you watched this far into the video, then obviously you're enjoying the content. So why not do you and me a favor and subscribe so that I can help you get better at drawing and you can help me deal with my crippling self-esteem. Anyways, back to the video. Before I end off today's video, I just want to remind you guys to always use references, especially when you're drawing hands, because they can be really tricky. Even the drawings that you're seeing on screen right now were done with references. And no, references are not cheating. If you don't know how to draw something to begin with, how do you expect to draw it without references? I literally cannot stress this enough. Always use references, because otherwise you're just going to end up disappointing yourself with whatever you're going to draw, and then you'll lose motivation and just give up. Anyways, that's all I wanted to add with this voiceover. Thank you to you guys who made it to the end of the video. I appreciate y'all, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.